Hello there guys and welcome, it is Niran here, and today it is time for somewhat of a different video. This is actually going to be an F1 2014 news video. Now there hasn't really been anything specifically released very recently, but I just wanted to do sort of an overview of everything that's been released about F1 2014 and just my thoughts, all the screenshots, all the Hotlaps that have been uploaded by Codemasters, and just my opinions and thoughts about things that the community, the F1 community's had a lot to say about, especially on various social networking, social media. There's been a lot of different opinions about various aspects of the game, so I just wanted to bring them all together. Just quickly before we get underway, if you're looking for cheap custom PCs, feel free to check out bszent.com, link in the description, as well as my promo code, which is FNG10 for a 10% discount. Nevertheless, the first thing we've got to talk about, where we've got to start really, is the fact that there will be no next gen on F1 2014. This is very much old news. Everyone who's watching this, who hasn't been living under a rock for at least the last 4 months, possibly the last month, but still, you will know that there will be no next gen, on F1 2014. That's because there will be on F1 2015, although it hasn't been titled yet. I assume it will be called F1 2015 or F1 Updated for reasons I'll go into in a moment. But yeah, so there isn't any next gen on F1 2014 because they're focusing on F1 2015, which will be released early in 2015 instead of later on, like in October, like this year. So we're expecting spring, so probably something like April or May. If it's delayed a little bit, probably June. I wouldn't say anything later than that. But I know that quite a lot of people were quite annoyed at this at first when they first found out that F1 2014 was not going to be on current gen. Was not going to be on next gen. They didn't know about the F1 2015 concept. For me, I'm not really that fussed. It's actually relieved a lot of pressure for me in actually having to get next gen, because now the only thing I have to get next gen for is FIFA, and even then FIFA 15 on next gen isn't that different from FIFA 15 on current gen. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about FIFA, so yeah, I'm not really that fussed from that aspect. It would have been quite nice to see F1 2014 on next gen, just to see what Codemasters can actually do. I've never seen a game by them on next gen from a racing perspective. I don't know about anything else. But we don't have to wait too long about F1 2015, it keeps things fresh in the F1 community. You don't have that dead period from sort of May and June onwards until the next game comes out, because, hey presto, as soon as that's starting to happen, a new game comes out for everyone to make videos on. So as long as they then keep that pattern up for the years to come, hopefully they don't revert back to the October scenario, otherwise for F1 2015 there'll be a huge dead period. But still, so I'm not really that fussed from a video making point of view, from an entertainment point of view and just a gaming point of view. I'm still not overly fussed, to be honest with you. As long as the game is good, I will enjoy it whenever it comes out, whatever console it's on. Preferably after F1 2015 onwards, I'd like to see it on next gen, just to see what Codemasters can do on that expanded console compared to the current gen consoles. But still, I'm not hugely fussed. As I said, there's no name given yet to F1 2015. Well, I'm just going to call it F1 2015 as a point of reference, but it's not actually been copyrighted, named that. Another thing about F1 2014, there will be no classic content. Overall, I'm not hugely fussed about that, because I think it gives Codemasters a lot more of a scope to focus on the main aspect of the game instead of classic content and classic edition, because I think they sort of went a little bit too much into that last year. I mean, it was brilliant at first, but then you realise that overall not much had changed about the game either. About the overall, new generation of cars. It hadn't really changed a huge amount beyond classic content. So that's gone. I can't say I'm hugely fussed about that, but I would expect it to come back for F1 2015 with, of course, it being on next gen, a lot more scope for a lot of different things because of the memory issues. Hopefully on that they can bring back the Live the Life career mode as well. Because of that increased memory. I'd love to see that back, like on F1 2010, and I think every Formula 1 gamer ever would like to see that back. It was such a good feature. Fortunately, I never really played that game enough compared to most people around here, but yeah, it was such a good feature, so hopefully they'll bring that back. In terms of the good and bad aspects of what's been released by F1 2014, by the way, I should have some screenshots as well in the background. I'll show some snippets of the Hotlaps as well in the background when I get onto that. But yeah, the good things, certainly engine noises, graphics and camera angles. The camera angles look a lot more realistic. Hopefully they keep them like that from what we've seen on the Hotlaps. The engine noises are great. Those little turbo wisps and stuff sound absolutely incredible, especially on the Bahrain Hotlap, which I won't put in because I already did a video about that. If you want to check that out, a link will be in the description. And the graphics of the tracks look really good. They're probably a little bit actually better than the cars. The car graphics are good, but you get the feeling that they've just made the new cars with the same graphics system they did on F1 2013. The tracks look absolutely stunning, especially Bahrain at night, and Spa and Sochi actually looked very nice as well. Austria a little bit plain. They did a good job of that bull sort of jumping through the hoop, if you know what I mean, because it's obviously the Red Bull ring now, not the A1 ring, but nevertheless. Moving on from that, you can now do mini careers as well, so 7, 12 or full season races, or full race, 7 races, 12 races, or full season. That's what I was going for, which will be 20. No, 19, 20, one of the two, I don't know, I can't really remember. So this is good really for the casual fan. It doesn't really make much of a fuss for me, because I will still be doing the full seasons for any videos that I make, any series that I make, and just in general as well, from a gaming point of view. I probably won't use the 7 or 12 race rule too much unless I'm doing a mini-series on my second channel or something like that. We've also got a new driver evaluation system on career mode. This replaces the young drivers test, and you get 1 lap race after the game loads for the first time, and after that race, after you've done the lap time, after you've most likely beaten the AI or at least come high up or low down, depending on your skill ability or whatever, or newness to the game. That's not a word. Newness is not a game. Newness is not a word, not a game. I'm confused, you're confused, I'll move on. Anyway, so the game suggests a difficulty level after the race against the AI. So it seems pretty simple enough, you know, you do well, it suggests some assists to give you. I would assume the race will be assists off, so to properly gauge how quick you are, so there'll be ABS off, there'll be traction control off, and then it will suggest to you whether you should have traction control on, medium, or not on at all, and for ABS as well. So that's pretty cool. I think the young drivers test was getting a little bit repetitive. They haven't really changed much, a huge amount. There was no sort of drivers program like you do get with Red Bull and Ferrari and McLaren in real life, so I think to move that on a little bit, I think that was the best way to go until they can maybe implement that in a few seasons' time. So, after that, it's time now for the hot lap. I'm sorry, my speaking ability, my sentence making today has been absolutely atrocious, but we're still going to move on to the hot laps. I've had some screenshots in the background a moment ago, but we're now going to move on to the hot laps. We'll start off with Spa, so that should be on the screen now. There is one thing I'm very concerned about with this hot lap, and that is the driver managed to get through Eau Rouge flat out in the wet. Now, obviously, in these new cars, that is not even close to being possible. Now, I know the for the hot laps is driven by the AI, who actually drive about 5 seconds slower. So you know, but going flat out through Eau Rouge isn't brilliant. I know these hot laps aren't a very good gauge for looking at the ability of the car, the stability of the car, and the such like, and the traction and all that. It's more just for the visuals, for the audio and the such like, but still that is quite worrying if they don't sort that out, because in these new system cars, that certainly isn't, I don't think it was even possible in last season, in the wet especially, so that was a bit worrying. But the engine sounds look great, the camera angles were good, especially the one coming through the fence was nice as well. After, I can't remember, I'm so bad at corner names, especially for Belgium. But yeah, anyway, so that was good. It was a bit concerning, but overall it was quite nice to hear the engine sounds. Bahrain, I've already done a video about that. It looked really nice. Bahrain looked amazing at night time. The turbo wisps were lovely. The engine sounds were overall brilliant. That was, of course, the first time we actually managed to hear the engine sounds. Then we move on to Austria. It was a short lap, so it's kind of hard to actually tell how good that was, but the track looked quite nice. To be honest, that was quite a neutral one. That was, of course, with Daniel Ricciardo. And then the last one was Sochi with Daniel Kvyat of Toro Rosso. The track looks quite nice. The second half of the track really saves it, because the first half is too much like Valencia. But they've done a really good job with building up the track, so that looks really nice. And yeah, and the Toro Rosso looks pretty nice as well. So I think that pretty much rounds things up for everything that's been released. I hope you enjoyed this run through all the screenshots, hot laps, and all the information that's been released. I don't really do a weekly series like I do with FIFA, so this was just sort of a replacement. And I really hope you enjoyed it. So, it's been an absolute pleasure ranting you guys today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you really enjoyed the video. Comment about enjoying it if you enjoyed it that much, as well as your opinions on anything that I told you about today, as well your opinions on the game so far. Have a brilliant day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.
No matter what you say or what you do,